This is Faith Under Fire. We take you straight to the front lines of religious battlegrounds. I'm Family Life News anchor Sarah Harnisch, and with me today, retired Salvation Army Major Thomas Applin. We're talking 9/11. Today marks 24 years since twin planes hit the towers in Manhattan at the hands of terrorists. Nearly 3,000 were dead in New York, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. You were boots on the ground coordinating pastoral and social relief for the Salvation Army. Take us there.
The Salvation Army is one of the largest emergency disaster providers in the world. Coincidentally, the city of New York had just established a new disaster headquarters at the World Trade Center. We had personnel who were actually there with a canteen when the towers were hit. So we were present from the very beginning and saw everything as it unfolded on that day and in the ensuing days.
You weren't personally there when those towers fell, but about 6 weeks later, you found yourself right in the middle of all of it.
I watched it all from my computer on the day that the towers fell, but for the month of November, I was the incident commander for the event for the Salvation Army in Manhattan. Walking through that area that was completely devastated, rocks and rubble, soot and grime and ash everywhere, was probably the most incredible experience of my life. I say that both negatively and positively because while it was just an awful, awful thing to happen, there was incredible ministry that took place, and it was an honor to be able to serve families and service personnel, firefighters and EMTs.
What were you doing for the first responders?
One of the stories I remember so clearly was Salvation Army personnel literally washing the feet of firefighters after they came off the pile. They would come to a station that we had established, and we would remove their boots and their socks and wash their feet, many whom boots had melted because of the heat of the pile. I don't think there's anything more humbling than having the opportunity to do what Jesus did.
What's your favorite story from Ground Zero?
It was common practice as they were searching the pile, hoping for survivors, but generally there were no survivors. When a body was found, the Salvation Army was asked to lead a procession of individuals as they carried the body out of the pile. I have to tell you, that would literally bring us to our knees as we thought about the lives that were lost, the families who had lost those loved ones, and there were many, many, many families right in the area who were waiting, just waiting to know that their loved one had been found. That was just a holy moment to be there and to bring comfort.
Where did you see Jesus?
I saw Jesus everywhere. It's quite amazing, honestly. People were more open to the gospel, more open to spiritual things. And of course, that happens in times of disaster. But I saw Jesus in the way my friends were able to reach out and touch people in such a special way. It's just wonderful to be able to provide hope to people who see everything as hopeless and to help them begin the journey towards wholeness of life again after losing someone that they loved.
Out of the entire experience and physically being there in Lower Manhattan, is there a story that comes to mind that you're never going to forget?
I was walking through the concealed area. There were only certain people were allowed access into much of the area in Lower Manhattan. But because of my responsibility, I was allowed access to walk through. And it was after dark, late in the evening, I was walking from one of our service sites to another, and I came upon a gentleman very well dressed. He had government insignia on his uniform, suit and tie, and he stopped me and he said, "Sir, aren't we all victims of this horrible tragedy?" And that gave me the opportunity for the next 10 or 15 minutes to counsel with him, to pray with him, provide comfort, because indeed he was correct. We were all victims of that horrible tragedy. But to be able to be there, it was a God moment. God provided the opportunity, and I don't remember a thing I said, but I know for sure that God was praised. And as I prayed with him, it was my hope that he would walk away feeling as though God cared, God understood, and God would provide him what he needed.
There's an entire generation that was not alive when this happened, and now they're adults. What do you want them to know about 9/11?
we can't forget. We must always remember the price that was paid for the murder of people. The price of freedom is that there's always the chance that something will happen to take that freedom away. And we need to be vigilant. We need to be watching and be cautious and live our lives in such a way that we don't allow it to happen again. And at the same time, we need as a nation to continue to trust in God because He's the only answer.
I imagine walking through the rubble, you were surrounded by people that maybe had never had an encounter with Jesus Christ.
There were thousands of people there who didn't know Christ.
How do you approach somebody who is starting literally from ground zero with their faith?
Probably as I have done throughout all of my ministry, I wait for God to provide the opportunity. There's never a time when there's not an opportunity, when God doesn't open a door for us to minister to people. I don't know that I've ever had all the right words, but somehow, some way, in providing the opportunity, God also provides the words.
Learn more at salvationarmyusa.org.